Hello, and welcome to this quiet space, this gentle place, where we'll drift together through a story of sky and dreams. Let yourself settle now, wherever you are. Feel the weight of your body, sinking softly into comfort. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Just breathe. Tonight, we're going to float through the story of Emma and her journey to the sky. It's a slow story, a soft story, the kind that unfolds like clouds moving across an evening horizon. There's no rush here. Time moves differently in dreams and flight, in this quiet space between waking and sleep. So close your eyes, if you haven't already. Let the weight of the day drain away, and together, we'll drift into Emma's world, where the sky is always patient and dreams take shape, one gentle moment at a time. A gentle note as we begin. You'll hear some technical terms as we follow Emma's journey. Words like altimeter and crosswind and stall. Don't worry about them. You don't need to understand them. You don't need to remember them. They're just part of the atmosphere, part of the world of flight. Let them wash over you, like the sound of waves or rain on a window. If you understand them, wonderful. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. This story isn't a lesson. It's a journey, a dream. Just let yourself drift and follow along. All you need to do is relax, breathe, and let Emma's story carry you gently into sleep. Breathe, and we begin. Emma doesn't remember the exact moment when she first felt it. That pull, that quiet longing. Maybe it had always been there, waiting, like morning fog waiting for sun. It was a Tuesday, an ordinary Tuesday in April. She was 26, working at a bookstore, living a perfectly fine life. Walking home from the grocery store, paper bags in her arms, thinking about nothing in particular. And then overhead the sound. A small plane, single engine, the throaty hum of a propeller cutting through evening air. She stopped on the sidewalk, looked up, shielding her eyes against the soft spring sun. The aircraft was white, with blue stripes along its fuselage, catching the golden light, banking gently, turning, moving through the sky with such grace, such purpose. Something stirred in her chest, something old and deep and true. The plane grew smaller, a dot against clouds, then vanished. But Emma stood there, grocery bags getting heavy in her arms, staring at the empty sky. And she felt it, that pull, that ache, that whisper that said, you could do that. You could learn to fly. The thought was ridiculous, of course. She wasn't a pilot, didn't know any pilots. Had never even thought about flying before, not really. But the seed was planted. And seeds, when they fall in fertile ground, have a way of growing quietly in the dark. She walked the rest of the way home slowly. The evening air was cool. Somewhere a dog barked. A car passed. Normal sounds. Normal life. But inside, something had shifted. The world felt larger somehow, full of possibility. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, listening to the quiet sounds of her apartment, the refrigerator humming, a distant siren, and she thought about the plane, the way it moved, the way it belonged up there, in all that blue. What would it feel like, she wondered, to be up there? To see the world from that perspective, to move through 3 dimensions, free, weightless, held by nothing but air and dream. She reached for her phone. The screen's glow made the darkness bluer, and she typed, "How to become a pilot." The internet opened like a door. Private pilot license, flight schools, discovery flights, logbooks, check rides. A whole world she'd never known existed, right there waiting. She read and read, scrolling through forums and websites and photos of instrument panels glowing amber in cockpits at dawn. 2 hours passed, maybe 3. The words blurred together, but one thing became clear, crystal certain. She wanted this. Not later, not someday, now. The next morning, Emma woke with that feeling you get when you've decided something important in the night. Everything looked the same. Her bedroom with its familiar furniture, the morning light slanting through half-closed blinds, but she felt different, changed, determined. She made coffee. The kettle whistled softly. She poured water over the grounds, watching them bloom, releasing their dark fragrance. And she thought, I'm going to do this. I'm really going to do this. At work that day, shelving books, helping customers, she felt like she was moving through a dream. Her hands did familiar tasks, but her mind was elsewhere. Flying, always flying. She imagined her hands on controls. Imagine a moment of liftoff, when wheels leave pavement and Earth lets go. During her lunch break, she sat in the back room, eating a sandwich she barely tasted, and made a list in a notebook. A careful list, a practical list. Things I need to do. Find a flight school. Figure out cost. Get a medical certificate. Buy a logbook. Start ground school. The list made it real, concrete, not just a dream anymore, but a path, a series of steps. And Emma, quiet Emma, who had always played it safe, who had always chosen the practical path, felt a thrill run through her. Excitement, fear, exhilaration. She was going to learn to fly. That weekend, Saturday morning, Emma drove to the airport. Not the big commercial airport, but the small one on the edge of town. The one she'd driven past 100 times, never really seeing it. Now, she turned into the entrance, past a sign that said Riverside Municipal Airport, and her heart beat faster. The parking lot was half empty. A few cars, a pickup truck. She parked, turned off the engine, and sat for a moment. Through the windshield, she could see a row of small aircraft tied down on the ramp. White ones, red ones, yellow ones with their noses pointed skyward, propellers still, waiting. A plane taxied past slow, its propeller a silver blur, the pilot's silhouette visible in the cockpit. So casual, so competent. Emma watched, mesmerized. That could be me, she thought. Someday soon, that could be me. She got out of the car. The air smelled different here. Fuel, oil, cut grass, and something else, something indefinable. The smell of possibility, of dreams preparing for takeoff. The flight school was in a small building, part office, part hangar. A sign over the door, Skyward Flight Training. Through the window, she could see a desk, aviation charts on the walls, model airplanes hanging from the ceiling, and suddenly, her courage wavered. What was she doing? She didn't belong here. These were pilots, real pilots. She was just Emma, who worked in a bookstore, who had never done anything adventurous, who was afraid of heights, or at least she thought she might be. She almost turned back, almost walked to her car, almost drove away. But then the door opened, and a woman came out, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a flight jacket. She was carrying a headset. She smiled at Emma. "Can I help you?" And Emma heard herself say, her voice steadier than she expected, "I want to learn to fly." The woman's smile widened. "Well," she said, "you've come to the right place." The woman's name was Sarah. She was a flight instructor, and she had, Emma would later realize, that special quality that all good teachers have, the ability to make the impossible seem possible. "Come on in," Sarah said, holding the door. "Let's talk." Inside, the office was cluttered in a comfortable way. Aviation charts covered one wall, marked with highlighter and pencil notes. A whiteboard showed aircraft schedules. A coffee maker burbled in the corner, filling the space with warmth. And everywhere, the evidence of flight: pilot logbooks, training manuals, models of aircraft suspended on fishing lines from the ceiling, turning slowly in the air from the heating vent. Emma sat in a chair across from Sarah's desk. Sarah poured 2 cups of coffee, slid one across. "So," she said, settling into her own chair, "tell me, what brings you to flying?" And Emma tried to explain about the plane she'd seen, the feeling it gave her, the pull she couldn't ignore. The words came slowly, uncertainly, but Sarah listened, really listened, nodding, understanding. "I know that feeling," Sarah said softly when Emma finished. "That's what got me into flying 20 years ago. I saw a plane, just like you, and I thought, I want to do that, and here I am." She gestured around the office, smiled. "Best decision I ever made." They talked for an hour, maybe longer. Time moved strangely in that small office, with the sound of airplanes occasionally rumbling past outside. Sarah explained the process: ground school, flight lessons, solo, cross-country flights, the Checkride. It sounded like a lot, but also manageable. A journey broken into steps. "The private pilot license," Sarah said, "is the beginning. It's your ticket to the sky. Once you have it, you can take passengers, fly cross-country, rent aircraft. It's freedom, real freedom." Emma listened, imagining it. Imagined herself at the controls. Imagined looking down at the world from above. Imagined being a pilot. "How long does it take?" Emma asked. "Most people finish in 6 months to a year," Sarah said. "Depends on how often you fly, how quickly you learn. But there's no rush. Flying isn't a race. It's a conversation between you and the aircraft, you and the sky. Some conversations take longer than others." Emma liked that. A conversation. Not a test. Not a competition. A conversation. "What about cost?" Emma asked, voicing the worry that had been nagging at her. Sarah was honest. Flying wasn't cheap. Between aircraft rental, instructor time, books, exam fees, Emma was looking at around $10,000 to $12,000. It was a lot, more than Emma had saved. But Sarah explained payment plans. Flying a few hours a week instead of many. Taking time. Being patient. Most of my students work regular jobs, Sarah said. They save. They budget. They make it work because they want enough. And you know what? The ones who take their time, who really savor each lesson, they often become the best pilots. Before Emma left, Sarah walked her out to the flight line, the ramp where the aircraft sat, basking in morning sun. They were beautiful, Emma thought, compact, purposeful, with their wings catching light, their propellers still, like birds at rest. "This is a Cessna 172, Sarah said, patting the wing of a white aircraft with blue trim. Probably the most common training aircraft in the world. For seats, high wing, very stable, very forgiving. This is what you'd be learning in." Emma stepped closer, touched the wing tentatively. The metal was warm from the sun, smooth, real. She walked along the fuselage, peeked through the window at the cockpit. Instruments glowed dully in shadow. 2 control yokes, rudder pedals, a panel full of dials and switches and mystery. "It looks complicated," Emma said. Sarah laughed softly. "It looks that way, but you'll learn every instrument, every switch, every procedure, one piece at a time. Before you know it, this will feel like home." Emma stood there, hand on the warm wing, and felt that pull again. Stronger now, undeniable. "I want to start," she said. "When can I start?" Sarah smiled. "How about next week? We'll schedule your discovery flight. 1 hour, you and me, and we'll go up. You'll get to take the controls. See what it's like. No commitment. Just a taste. And then you can decide." Emma nodded. "Yes," she said. "Yes. Let's do it." They shook hands. Sarah's grip was firm, confident. "Welcome to Aviation, Emma," she said. "You're going to love it." Driving home, Emma felt lighter. The world looked different, brighter. The sky, that vast blue expanse she'd looked at her whole life without really seeing, now seemed full of invitations, full of promise. She was going to fly. The dream was becoming real. One step at a time, wings would unfold, and Emma would learn to dance with the sky. And so it began. The week passed slowly, like honey dripping. Emma moved through her days at the bookstore, but her mind was always elsewhere, in the sky. She bought her first aviation book, a thick manual called The Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, and read it at night in bed until the words blurred and her eyes grew heavy. She learned new words, new concepts: airfoil, Bernoulli's principle, angle of attack, the language of flight. And then, Saturday came, Discovery Flight Day. Emma woke before her alarm, in that soft pre-dawn darkness, heart already racing with anticipation. She showered, made coffee, stood by her window, watching the sky lighten, wondering what the day would bring. She arrived at the airport early. The morning was fresh, cool, the sun just beginning to paint the eastern sky with pale gold. The ramp was quiet. A few aircraft sat motionless, dew glistening on their wings. Somewhere a door slammed. An engine coughed to life, then settled into steady rumble. Emma walked slowly toward the flight school, breathing in the morning. The smell was stronger now, that particular perfume of aviation. 100 low-lead fuel. They called it avgas, sweet and sharp, mixed with the smell of oil and metal and cut grass from the field beyond the runway. It was becoming familiar, comforting. Inside, Sarah was already there, smiling, holding 2 headsets. "Ready?" she asked. Emma nodded. "Ready," she said, though her stomach fluttered with butterflies. They walked together to the aircraft. November 734 Quebec. Sarah called it N734Q, the registration number painted on the tail. Every aircraft had a name like this. Sarah explained, a unique identifier. This particular Cessna 172 was, Sarah said with affection, a good old girl. Reliable, patient, perfect for learning. "First thing we do," Sarah said, running her hand along the leading edge of the wing, "is the pre-flight inspection. Before every flight, every single flight, we walk around the aircraft. We look, we touch, we check. The aircraft talks to us, if we know how to listen." And so they began. Sarah showed Emma where to look, what to check. The process was meditative, intentional, almost ritualistic. They started at the left wing tip. Sarah touched the navigation light, the wingtip itself, checking for cracks, for damage. They moved along the leading edge, feeling for smoothness. Checked the fuel tank. Sarah climbing up on the wheel strut, unscrewing the cap, pulling out a small tube, draining a bit of fuel into a clear container. "We're checking for water," Sarah explained, "and debris. Fuel and water don't mix. Water is heavier, so it settles at the bottom of the tank. We drain a little, look at it, make sure it's clean. See," she held up the container. The fuel inside was blue, clear, catching the morning light. "That's good. That's what we want to see." Emma watched, fascinated. There was so much to know, so much to check, but Sarah moved through it with calm efficiency. Not rushed, but not slow either. Just practiced, confident. They moved to the nose, checked the propeller, Sarah running her fingers along each blade, feeling for nicks. "Even a small nick," she said softly, "can cause problems at high RPM. So we check. We always check." They opened the cowling, the metal cover over the engine, and peered inside. Emma saw complexity. Cylinders, hoses, wires, mystery. "This is the engine," Sarah said, unnecessarily, but with warmth. A Lycoming, for cylinders, air-cooled, simple, reliable. It's going to get us up there and bring us back down safely. Emma looked at the engine. It seemed small. Could this really lift them into the sky? But Sarah's confidence was contagious. "Trust the engineering," Sarah said, as if reading Emma's thoughts. "These engines are proven, tested. They've been flying people for decades." They continued around the aircraft, checking the right wing, the tail, the elevator, the hinged surface that controlled pitch, the rudder that controlled yaw, the trim tab, a tiny tab on the elevator that helped balance the aircraft in flight. Sarah touched each surface, moved them gently, checking for smooth motion, for proper response. An aircraft, Sarah said quietly, is a collection of surfaces. Each one has a job. Wings create lift. The elevator controls our pitch, our nose up, nose down attitude. The ailerons. She touched the hinged sections on the back of each wing. These control our roll, our bank. And the rudder, back here on the tail, controls our yaw, our left and right. Emma tried to absorb it all. Lift, pitch, roll, yaw, for forces, for dimensions of control. It was a lot, but Sarah's voice was patient, soothing. "You'll learn," she said, slowly, naturally. "Your hands will learn, even before your mind fully understands." The pre-flight complete, they climbed aboard. Sarah showed Emma how to step, where to put her feet, how to settle into the left seat, the pilot's seat, Emma's seat. It felt significant, sacred almost. She was sitting where pilots sat, where decisions were made, where flight began. The cockpit was smaller than Emma expected, intimate, the two seats close together, the instrument panel right there, within reach, yokes in front of each seat, pedals at her feet, and overhead, a panel of switches and circuit breakers, everything labeled, everything purposeful. Sarah climbed into the right seat, closed her door, the sound solid, final. They were enclosed now, in their own small world. Sarah handed him a headset. "Put this on," she said. "We'll be able to talk, even over the engine noise." Emma slipped the headset over her ears. The world went quieter, muffled. Then Sarah's voice, clear and close, came through the speakers. "Can you hear me?" Emma nodded, found the microphone. "Yes," she said, and her own voice came back to her through the headset. Strange, immediate. "Okay," Sarah said. "Let's go flying." Sarah walked Emma through the startup, each step deliberate, intentional. First, the master switch, then the fuel pump. Prime the engine, 3 strokes. Crack the throttle, mixture rich, magnetos to both. And then the key. Turn it, hold it. The propeller turned. Once, twice. Then the engine caught, coughed, roared, settled. The whole aircraft vibrated, alive now awakened. Emma felt it through the seat, through the yoke under her hands. A living thing, breathing. Sarah let the engine warm, checked gauges, oil pressure, good, temperature, rising, everything nominal. She looked at Emma, smiled. "You okay?" Emma nodded. Her heart was pounding, but it was exhilaration, not fear. "I'm good," she said. Sarah clicked the microphone. Riverside ground. Cessna 734 Quebec, at the ramp, with information Alpha, taxi for runway 27, VFR northbound. A voice crackled back through the headset. "Calm, professional. Cessna 34 Quebec, Riverside ground, taxi runway 27, via Alpha, altimeter 3012. Sarah repeated it back. Runway 27 via Alpha 3012 through Fort Quebec. And then she released the brakes, added a little power, and they began to move. Taxiing felt strange. The aircraft moved forward, but also swayed slightly, side to side. The nose wheel steering was controlled by the rudder pedals. Sarah explained, "So you steered with your feet, not with the yoke. The yoke," she said, "doesn't do much on the ground. Save it for the air." They rolled slowly along the taxiway, following the yellow center line. Emma looked out the window. The world looked different from here. Lower, she could see the texture of the pavement, the grass at the edges. Another aircraft passed them, going the opposite direction, and the pilot waved. Sarah waved back, a friendly gesture, a shared community. At the run-up area, Sarah stopped, set the parking brake. "Before we take off," she said, "we check everything one more time. We call it the run-up. We test each system, make sure everything works." She went through it, step by step, increased the throttle to 1,700 revolutions per minute. The engine roared louder. The aircraft shook, but it was controlled, expected. Sarah checked the magnetos, the dual ignition system. Left, right, both. She checked the carburetor heat, checked the flight controls, moving the yoke, the rudder pedals, watching the surfaces outside respond. Everything moved smoothly. Everything was good. "Okay," Sarah said. "We're ready." She looked at Emma. "Any questions before we go?" Emma shook her head. She was beyond questions, beyond words. She just wanted to fly. Sarah clicked the mic. "Riverside Tower, Cessna 34 Quebec, ready for departure, runway 27. Cessna 34 Quebec, Riverside Tower, runway 27, cleared for takeoff." Sarah repeated it. Then she taxied onto the runway, lined up on the center line. The runway stretched ahead, long and straight, disappearing into the distance. Emma could see the heat shimmer on the pavement, could feel her heart hammering. "Here we go," Sarah said quietly, and she pushed the throttle forward. The engine roared. The propeller blurred into invisibility. The aircraft surged forward, picking up speed. Faster, faster. The rumble of the wheels on pavement. The vibration. Emma gripped the edge of her seat, watching the airspeed indicator climb. 40 knots. 50. 60. And then, Sarah pulled back, gently on the yoke, and the rumbling stopped. The vibration ceased. There was just smoothness. Quiet. They were flying. "Oh!" Emma looked out the window. The ground was falling away. Slowly, gently, the buildings getting smaller. The cars on the distant highway, toys. The trees green and full, passing beneath. And ahead, nothing but sky. Blue sky. Endless sky. "How does it feel?" Sarah asked, her voice soft through the headset. Emma couldn't speak for a moment. She just felt the gentle motion of the aircraft, the slight vibration of the engine, the way the world spread out below, geometric, beautiful. She felt weightless, free, like a bird, like a dream. She started, stopped, tried again. It's perfect. Sarah smiled. Put your hands on the yoke, she said. Lightly. Just feel it. Feel how the aircraft moves. Emma reached out, touched the yoke in front of her. It was moving gently, making tiny adjustments. Sarah's hands were on her yoke, guiding, but Emma could feel it. The life in the controls, the feedback from the air. Feel that, Sarah said. That's the aircraft talking to you. Through the yoke, through the pedals. It's telling you what the air is doing, what it needs. Flying is a conversation between you and the sky. They climbed, slowly, steadily. Sarah leveled off at 3,000 feet. The altimeter showed it. 3,000 feet above sea level. Higher than Emma had ever been, except in a commercial jet. But this was different. This was intimate. Real. She could see everything. The town below. The river winding silver. Fields and patchwork. Roads like veins. Okay, Sarah said. Your airplane. Emma looked at her. What? You have the controls, Sarah said, her voice calm, encouraging. I'm right here. Just hold it steady. Keep the wings level. Keep the nose on the horizon. That's all. Just feel it. Emma's hands tightened on the yoke. Suddenly it felt heavier, more real. She was flying. She was actually flying. Her feet found the rudder pedals. Her eyes locked on the horizon ahead, the line where blue sky met distant land. The aircraft wobbled slightly. Emma overcorrected. It tilted the other way. Easy, Sarah said. Small movements. The aircraft wants to fly. You're not fighting it. You're dancing with it. Gentle. Soft. Emma breathed, relaxed her grip, made smaller inputs, and slowly, gradually, the aircraft steadied. The wings came level. The nose sat on the horizon, and they were flying straight, flying level. Emma was flying. They stayed up there for. Emma lost track of time. It could have been minutes, could have been hours. Sarah showed her how to turn, how to bank, how to climb and descend. Emma's hands learned, her feet learned, her body learned, the language of flight. And then gently, Sarah took the controls back. I've got it, she said. Let's head home. The return was peaceful. Sarah flew. Emma watched, absorbed. They descended slowly, the ground rising to meet them. Emma saw the airport ahead, the runway, so small from up here. How would they ever land on that tiny strip? But Sarah knew. Sarah had done this thousands of times. They entered the pattern, the rectangular path around the runway. Downwind, base, final. Sarah talked Emma through it, explained each step, each radio call, each action. And then they were over the runway, the ground rushing up. Sarah pulled back, flared. The main wheels touched. Gentle, a squeak. The nose wheels settled. They rolled, slowed, turned off the runway. It was done. Emma's first flight, her discovery flight, and she knew, without question, without doubt, that she was going to be a pilot. This was where she belonged. In the sky. 2 weeks later, Emma started ground school. Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 7 to 9 in a small classroom at the flight school. Folding tables, uncomfortable chairs, a whiteboard at the front, aviation charts on the walls, and 6 other students, all with the same dream, all reaching for the sky. Their instructor was a man named Michael, late 50s, withered face, calm eyes. He had been flying, he told them on the first night, for 38 years. Military, commercial, now teaching, giving back, helping new dreamers learn to fly. Flying, he said, on that first night, his voice gentle in the quiet room, is 90% knowledge and 10% skill. You will learn to control the aircraft. That's the easy part. But first, you must understand. You must know the weather, the regulations, the aerodynamics, the systems. Knowledge keeps you safe. Knowledge sets you free. And so they learned. They learned about lift, that mysterious force that holds an aircraft in the sky. Michael drew on the whiteboard a simple shape, an airfoil, the curved wing in cross-section. He showed them how air flowed over it, faster over the top, slower underneath. And this difference in speed, created a difference in pressure. Lower pressure above, higher pressure below, and the wing was pushed gently upward. Lift. Bernoulli's principle, Michael said. But you don't need to remember the name. Just understand, the wing is shaped to create this difference, and as long as air flows over it, at the right speed, at the right angle, the aircraft flies. It's elegant, simple, beautiful. Emma took notes, her notebook filling with diagrams, formulas, concepts. But more than taking notes, she was understanding, feeling it click into place. The wing wasn't magic. It was physics, predictable, reliable. If you did things right, the aircraft would fly. Every time. They learned about the 4 forces. Lift, which they just covered. Weight, the pull of gravity. Always present. Always trying to bring the aircraft down. Thrust, the force generated by the propeller, pulling the aircraft forward. And drag, the resistance of air. The friction, the enemy of speed. In level flight, Michael said, drawing arrows on the whiteboard, these forces are balanced. Lift equals weight. Thrust equals drag. The aircraft is in equilibrium. But change one, and everything changes. Add thrust, you accelerate. Reduce it, you slow down. Pull back on the yoke. Increase lift temporarily, and you climb. Push forward, decrease lift, and you descend. It's all connected, all balanced. They learned about aircraft control surfaces, the ones Emma had seen during her pre-flight. Now she understood how they worked. The ailerons on the wings. When you turned the yoke left, the left aileron went up, reducing lift on that wing. The right aileron went down, increasing lift. The aircraft rolled, banked, turned. The elevator on the tail controlled pitch. Pulled back on the yoke, the elevator went up, pushing the tail down, nose up. Push forward, elevator down, tail up, nose down. Simple, mechanical, connected directly to your hands. The rudder controlled yaw. Left pedal, rudder left, nose left. Right pedal, rudder right, nose right. Used in coordination with the ailerons to make smooth, balanced turns. The aircraft, Michael said, wants to fly. It's stable. If you let go of the controls in calm air, it will fly itself. Mostly, your job is just to guide it, to make small corrections, to dance with it, like Sarah probably told you. He smiled. We all say the same things, because they're true. Week after week, Emma came to class, tired from work, but energized by learning. They studied weather, that vast, complex, ever-changing system that pilots must understand, must respect. They learned about clouds, cumulus, the puffy fair weather clouds, stratus, the flat gray layers, cumulonimbus, the towering thunderstorms, dangerous, avoided, never fly into a thunderstorm. Michael said firmly, never. They will destroy an aircraft. They will destroy you. Respect the weather. Always. They learned to read weather reports, meters and taffs, strings of letters and numbers that, at first, looked like code, like mystery, but slowly became readable, understandable. A meter might say, KGFK 121251, Z24015, G25 KD10SM, View 250 23/14, A2990. And Michael would translate gently, patiently. This is Kennedy Airport. Observation time 12:51 Zulu. That's UTC, Universal Time. Wind from 240 degrees at 15 knots, gusting to 25. Visibility 10 statute miles. A few clouds at 25,000 feet. Temperature 23 Celsius. Dew point 14. Altimeter setting 29.90 inches of mercury. Emma would write it down, practice decoding them, at home, at work, on her phone during breaks, until the code became language, until she could read the weather in seconds, until she could see, in those letters and numbers, whether it was a good day to fly. They learned about airspace, the invisible structure that organized the sky. Class Bravo around big airports, tightly controlled. Class Charlie around smaller towered airports. Class Delta around even smaller ones. Class Echo. Class Golf. Each with different rules, different requirements, different boundaries. The sky, Michael said, tracing lines on a chart, is not empty. It's structured, organized, like rooms in a house. Each room has rules. You must know which room you're in, what's required, what's allowed. Knowledge keeps you safe. Knowledge keeps everyone safe. And Emma studied, late into the night. After her shifts at the bookstore, she would come home, make tea, spread her books and charts across the kitchen table, and she would read, study, memorize the regulations, the procedures, the minimums, the requirements. 3 statute miles visibility for VFR flight in most airspace. Stay 500 feet below clouds, 1,000 feet above, 2,000 feet horizontally. These numbers, these rules, became part of her. Automatic, essential. She learned about aircraft systems, the fuel system, how fuel flowed from the tanks, through lines, through a selector valve, to the engine. Gravity fed in most small aircraft. Simple, reliable, but you had to manage it. Switch tanks, check levels, monitor. the electrical system, battery, alternator, circuit breakers, the instruments that needed power, the lights, the radios. What happened if the alternator failed? How to conserve, how to prioritize. Land as soon as practical. Don't panic, just land. The engine itself, for cylinders, air-cooled, burning a mixture of fuel and air. The throttle controlled power. The mixture controlled the ratio of fuel to air. At higher altitudes, where air was thinner, you leaned the mixture. Less fuel, maintaining the proper ratio, keeping the engine happy. Listen to your engine, Michael said. It talks to you. A smooth sound, that's good. A rough sound, something's wrong. A change in pitch, something's changed. Your ears become instruments. Trust them. Emma absorbed it all. Sometimes it felt like too much, like drinking from fire hose. But Michael's voice was always calm, always patient. You don't need to know everything today, he would say. You just need to keep learning, bit by bit, lesson by lesson. It accumulates, it builds, and one day, you'll realize you know this. You understand this. You're ready. And on the weekends, Emma flew. Real lessons now. Not just discovery flights, but structured training. With her instructor, a young man named David, who Sarah had recommended. Calm, patient, methodical, perfect for Emma's learning style. The first real lesson was mostly on the ground. David spent an hour in the cockpit with Emma, engine off, just sitting, learning. He showed her every instrument, every switch, every control. The airspeed indicator. This tells you how fast you're moving through the air, he said. Not over the ground, through the air. The wind affects your ground speed. But this shows your airspeed. And airspeed is life. Too slow, you stall. Too fast, you can damage the aircraft. You'll learn the speeds. Memorize them. Feel them. For Cessna 172, he explained the speeds were rotation speed on takeoff, 55 knots. Best rate of climb, 74 knots. Normal cruise, 100 to 110 knots. Approach speed, 65 knots. The white arc on the airspeed indicator showed the flap operating range. The green arc, normal operating range. The yellow caution. The red line, never exceed. These aren't just numbers, David said softly. They're promises. The aircraft promises. If you fly these speeds, it will behave predictably, safely. Trust the numbers. They were earned through testing, through engineering, through decades of flight. The altimeter, 3 hands, like a clock, but showing altitude. The small hand, 10,000s of feet. The medium hand, thousands. The large hand, hundreds. Read it like a clock, David said, but the numbers are altitude. And always, always, set the correct altimeter setting before you fly. Otherwise, you'll think you're higher than you are, and that can be fatal. The attitude indicator, the artificial horizon, a small airplane symbol in the center, and behind it a horizon line, blue above, brown below. When you banked, the artificial horizon tilted. When you climbed, it moved down. When you descended up, in the clouds, David said, when you can't see the real horizon, This becomes your world. This tells you which way is up. Trust it, even when your body says something different. The heading indicator, the directional gyro, showing which direction you're pointed. North, east, south, west. The numbers around the dial. 360 degrees. A circle. You'll set this, David said, to match the magnetic compass before you fly. And then use it. It's more stable, more readable. But remember, it drifts. Check it. Correct it. Stay oriented. The turn coordinator, showing rate of turn and slip. The little airplane symbol in the center tilted left or right when you banked. The ball beneath, like a level, showed coordination. Keep the ball centered, David said. That means you're making a coordinated turn. Ailerons and rudder together, dancing together. If the ball slides left, kick left rudder. If it slides right, kick right rudder. Step on the ball, we say. Simple. The vertical speed indicator, showing rate of climb or descent, feet per minute, up or down. This lags a bit, David said. It's not instant, so don't chase it. Use it as a guide, a reference. But feel the aircraft. Learn to feel when you're climbing, when you're descending. The instruments support your senses. They don't replace them. And finally, the engine instruments. Tachometer showing RPM, oil pressure, oil temperature, fuel gauges, ammeter showing electrical charge. Green is good, David said, pointing to the green arcs on each gauge. Keep everything in the green. If something moves into the yellow, pay attention. If something hits the red, land soon. Don't push it. Respect the limits. After the ground lesson, they flew. David demonstrated. Emma observed. They did patterns. Takeoff, climb, crosswind leg, downwind base, final landing. Over and over. The rectangular path around the airport. David talked through each step, each action, his voice calm on the intercom. Takeoff, full power, check engine instruments, all green, airspeed alive. 55 knots, rotate, positive rate of climb, gears welded, flaps up at 500 feet, climb at 74 knots, trim for hands-off flight. Turning crosswind, bank 15 degrees, coordinate with rudder, level the wings, check altitude, adjust power, cruise climb. Downwind, abeam the numbers, power to 2,000 revolutions per minute. Maintain altitude. Let speed bleed to 90 knots, first notch of flaps. Descend at 500 feet per minute. Base leg, turn, check for traffic, second notch of flaps. 70 knots, descending, looking for the runway. Final approach, lined up, runway in sight, last notch of flaps. 65 knots, over the threshold, power to idle flare. Hold it off. Hold it off. Let's settle there, main wheels first, nose wheel down gently. Good. Emma watched, listened, absorbed. The pattern became familiar, predictable, comforting. There was a rhythm to it, a flow, like a dance, like David had said, like everyone said. And then, David said the words Emma had been waiting for. "Okay, your turn, your airplane." Emma's hands found the yoke, her feet found the pedals, and with David's calm voice guiding, she flew. She took off, shakily at first, overcorrecting, but getting better. She climbed, turned crosswind, her first turn alone, banking, coordinating, wings wobbling but mostly level. "Good," David said. "Relax your grip. Small inputs. Let the aircraft fly." And Emma breathed, relaxed, found the rhythm, turned downwind, reduced power, added flaps. The aircraft descended, turned base, turned final, the runway ahead, growing larger. She was going to land. She was actually going to land. "Airspeed," David reminded. 65 knots. Emma checked. 70. She reduced power slightly. The speed bled off. 65, good. Over the threshold now. David's hand hovered near his yoke. Ready, but not taking over. Letting Emma try. "Flare," he said. "Pull back gently. Hold it off." Emma pulled back. Too much. The nose came up too high. The aircraft ballooned. Rose. David's hand moved to his yoke. "I've got it," he said. And smoothly, he salvaged the landing, brought the nose down, flared again, settled onto the runway. Smooth. Professional. "That's okay," he said as they rolled out. "You'll learn the flare. It's the hardest part. Takes time. Takes practice. But you did everything else right. The whole approach was great." And Emma, though she hadn't landed perfectly, felt a surge of pride. She had flown. Really flown. Controlled the aircraft through the whole pattern. Everything except the landing. And that, David promised, would come. "Every landing is practice," he said. "Even pilots with thousands of hours are still practicing landings. It's an art, a feel. You'll get it. I promise." And Emma believed him. Week after week, Emma flew. Twice a week when she could afford it. Once a week when money was tight. Each lesson built on the last. Takeoffs became smoother. Turns became coordinated. Airspeed control became second nature. Her hands learned. Her feet learned. Her eyes learned where to look, how to scan. Instruments. Outside. Instruments. Outside. Building the habit. The pattern. She learned slow flight. Reducing power. Adding flaps. Slowing to just above stall speed. 50 knots. 45. The controls mushy now. Less responsive, but still controllable. Still safe. Learning the edge. Where flight became precarious. Where you had to pay attention. Had to be intentional. "This is what landing feels like," David said. "Slow. On the edge. You need to be comfortable here. Confident here. Because every landing you're slow. You're near the stall. And you need to trust that the aircraft will fly. That you can control it. Even here." She learned stalls. Power off stalls, simulating a landing gone wrong. Power on stalls, simulating a takeoff departure stall. David demonstrated first. Slowing the aircraft. Pulling back. More. More. Until the nose dropped. The stall horn blaring. The aircraft shuddering. And then recovery. Reduce back pressure. Add power. Level the wings. Stop the descent. Climb away. "Stalls aren't dangerous," David said, "if you know what to do. If you practice. if you respect them. They're only dangerous if they surprise you, if you panic. So we practice. We learn. We make them routine. Emma practiced. At first, the stalls terrified her. The moment when the aircraft stopped flying, when it shuddered, when the nose dropped, her instinct was to pull back, to pull up. But David taught her, trained her. Push forward, he would say. Unload the wing. Let fly again. Then climb. Counterintuitive, but correct. And slowly, the stalls became less frightening, became educational, became a tool, a skill, something she could do, something she understood. And through it all, Emma fell more in love with flying, with the sky, with the quiet moments at altitude when the radio was silent and the engine purred and the world spread out below like a painting, like a dream. She would look out the window during cruise flight and see farmland, see rivers, see roads connecting towns, see the shadows of clouds moving across the earth, and she would think, I am here. I am flying. This is real. This is my life now. And the hours accumulated, slowly, one lesson at a time, one flight at a time, her logbook filling with entries, date, aircraft, route, duration, landings, maneuvers, each line evidence, each page progress. She was becoming pilot. But learning to fly was not always easy, not always smooth. There were days when Emma struggled, when the aircraft seemed uncooperative, when her hands and feet couldn't seem to coordinate, when everything she'd learned scattered like leaves in wind. One Tuesday evening, the wind was strong, gusty, 15 knots, gusting to 25, from the southwest, and the runway 27, pointed west-northwest, which meant crosswind, the wind hitting the aircraft from the side, pushing it, testing it. David briefed her on the ground. Crosswinds are challenging, he said, but they're also common. You need to learn them, master them, because the wind rarely cooperates perfectly. He explained the technique. On approach, you crab into the wind, turn the nose slightly upwind, to track straight down the runway center line, and then, just before touchdown, you transition. Kick out the crab with rudder. Lower the upwind wing with aileron. Land on one wheel first, the upwind wheel. Then let the other settle. It sounded complicated, precise, difficult. And it was. Emma's first approach, she crabbed too much. The aircraft was sideways to the runway, way too sideways. David took over. That's too much, he said gently. Small corrections, just enough to track centerline. Her second approach, she forgot to kick out the crab. They were still angled when they got close to the ground. David took over again, landed. You have to transition, he reminded. Straighten the aircraft, align with the runway, before you touch down. Her third approach, she lowered the upwind wing too much. The wing dipped toward the ground. Dangerous, David corrected. Gentle, he said. Just a little bank. Just enough. By the end of the lesson, Emma was frustrated, tired. They'd done 6 approaches. 6 attempts, and not one successful crosswind landing. David had to take over every single time. Emma sat in the right seat on the taxi back, silent, defeated. "Hey," David said as they parked, as he shut down the engine, the sudden silence heavy between them. "You okay?" Emma shrugged, pulled off her headset. I couldn't get it. Any of it. I felt like I was learning nothing." David was quiet for a moment. Then he said, his voice soft, understanding, "Emma, you were flying in winds that would challenge pilots with hundreds of hours. This was hard, really hard, and you tried. You kept trying. That's what matters." "But I didn't land once," Emma said. "Not once." "No," David agreed. "You didn't. But you learned. Your brain absorbed. Your hands felt. Your feet felt. And next time, you'll do better. I promise. Learning isn't linear. Some days you plateau. Some days you even go backward. But then suddenly it clicks, and you wonder why it was ever hard." Emma wanted to believe him, but doubt had crept in. That quiet voice that said, "Maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe this is too hard. Maybe you should quit." She drove home slowly, the sun setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Beautiful. But Emma barely noticed. She felt heavy, discouraged. For the first time since starting, she wondered if she'd made a mistake. That night, she didn't study, didn't open her books, just sat on her couch in the dark, staring at nothing. And she thought about giving up, about saving her money, about accepting that some dreams were too difficult, too far. But then her phone buzzed. A text from David. "Hey, I know today was tough, but I want you to know you're doing great, better than you think. Crosswinds take time. Don't let one hard lesson discourage you. You're going to be a good pilot. I can see it. Keep going." Emma read it again, and something softened inside her chest. David believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. And maybe that was enough. For now. She texted back, "Thank you. I'll keep trying." And she meant it. The next lesson, the wind was calm, just 4 knots, straight down the runway. Perfect conditions. Emma flew the pattern, clean, coordinated, approached at 65 knots, flared, and touched down, softly, gently, on center line. A good landing. A really good landing. "Nice," David said, genuine pride in his voice. That was smooth. Emma felt it, the satisfaction, the validation. She could do this when conditions were right, when she focused, when she trusted her training. She could fly. They did 5 more landings that day. 5 more trips around the pattern, and 4 of them were good, really good. Emma was finding it, the feel, the timing, the precise moment to flare, the precise amount of back pressure. It was, like David said, starting to click. "I'm going to sign you off for solo soon," David said as they taxied back after the last landing. "Maybe a few more lessons, but you're close, really close." Solo, The words sent a thrill through Emma, a mixture of excitement and terror. Flying alone. No instructor. No safety net. Just her, and the aircraft, and the sky. Really, she asked, her voice small, hopeful. Really, David confirmed. You're ready. Almost. That weekend, Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. Solo. Her first solo. The milestone that every pilot remembered. The moment you became, truly, pilot in training. The moment you proved to yourself that you could do this. She practiced in her mind, lying in bed, walking to work, driving home. She flew imaginary patterns, made imaginary radio calls, performed imaginary landings, over and over, until it was automatic, natural, part of her. At ground school, Michael talked about the solo. It's the loneliest you'll ever feel, he said, a small smile on his weathered face, and the most free. There's nothing quite like it. That first time, when you're alone in the cockpit, when you realize you're doing this, you're flying, by yourself. He paused, searched for words. It's transformative. Emma's classmates talked about their solos, those who had already done it. Their eyes lit up when they described it. The nervousness, the focus, the incredible feeling of accomplishment. Emma listened and yearned. She wanted that, wanted to join them, wanted her own story to tell. 2 lessons later, on a Thursday afternoon, David said, "Today's the day. If you do 3 good landings, I'm sending you solo." Emma's heart jumped, raced. Today, already? She didn't feel ready, but also she did. She'd been practicing. She'd been learning. She'd logged 22 hours now, done hundreds of landings. She knew the procedures, knew the aircraft. She was ready. Breathe, she told herself. Just breathe. The conditions were perfect. Winds calm, clear skies, visibility unlimited, as if the universe was cooperating, giving her this gift, this perfect day. They flew together, 3 times around the pattern. Emma flew. David observed, hands off his controls, letting Emma do it all. And Emma focused, breathed, flew. First landing, good, right on center line, smooth. Second landing, a little firm, but safe, controlled. Third landing, beautiful, soft, like a feather settling. David keyed his mic as they taxied clear. "Take me back to the ramp," he said, and Emma knew this was it. At the ramp, David climbed out, stood by the wing, leaned into the cockpit. "Okay," he said, his voice calm, but Emma could hear it, pride, excitement. 3 times around, 3 landings, full stop each time. Taxi back, do it again. You've got this. I'll be watching from the ground. You're not alone. I'm right here. But Emma, you're ready. Go fly." He closed the door, stepped back, gave her a thumbs up. And Emma was alone. The cockpit felt different, bigger somehow, emptier, the right seat vacant. No David, no calm voice on the intercom, no experienced hands ready to take over. Just Emma, and suddenly, the weight of it hit her. She was going to do this. Actually do this. Fly. Alone. Her hand shook slightly as she went through the pre-takeoff checklist, but muscle memory took over. She'd done this checklist hundreds of times. Her eyes moved. Her hands moved. Automatically. Fuel selector on. Mixture rich. Carb heat off. Flaps set. Controls free and correct. Instruments checked. Good. Green. Ready. She keyed the mic. Her voice sounded strange to her. Louder. More present. Riverside Tower. Cessna 734 Quebec. Ready for departure runway 27. Closed traffic. Cessna 34 Quebec. Runway 27. Cleared for takeoff. Emma acknowledged. Taxied onto the runway. Lined up on centerline. And paused. One breath. Two breaths. She looked at the empty right seat. Thought of David, standing somewhere on the ramp. Watching. Believing in her. She pushed the throttle forward. The engine roared. The propeller blurred. The aircraft accelerated. Faster. Faster. Emma's hands light on the yoke. Her feet dancing on the rudder pedals. Keeping centerline. Airspeed alive. 40 knots. 50. 60. Rotate. She pulled back gently, and the rumble stopped. The world dropped away, and she was flying. Solo. Actually solo. Oh! The realization washed over her like warmth, like light. She was flying, by herself. No one else in the aircraft. No one to catch mistakes. No one to help. Just her. Her knowledge. Her skill. Her hands. Her decisions. And she was doing it. Climbing through 500 feet, she turned crosswind. The airport fell away to her right. She could see the ramp. Tiny figures. One of them had to be David. Watching. She waggled her wings slightly. A small gesture. Hello. I'm okay. I'm flying. The pattern felt normal. Natural. Everything she'd practiced. Every lesson. Every hour. Every landing. It was all there. In her hands. In her feet. In her mind. She flew downwind. Pulled power. Added flaps. Descended. Turned base. Turned final. The runway ahead. Centerline extending toward her. Welcoming her home. She held 65 knots. Stable. Steady. Over the threshold. Power idle. Flare. Hold it. Hold it. And touchdown. Gentle. Good. The mains kissed the pavement. Nose wheel down. She was down. First solo landing. Done. Nice job, 3-4 Quebec, the tower said. And Emma could hear the smile in the controller's voice. They knew. They always knew when it was a student's first solo. Thank you, Emma said, her voice happy, light, free. She taxied back, lined up again, took off again, and again it was perfect. The climb, the pattern, the landing, everything flowing, everything right. Second landing, good. Third landing, even better. And then, taxiing back to the ramp, the realization fully hit her. She'd done it. She'd soloed. She was a real pilot in training now. She'd taken an aircraft by herself, flown it, and brought it safely back 3 times. David was waiting, big smile on his face. As Emma shut down, climbed out, he clapped her on the shoulder. "Congratulations," he said. "You're a pilot." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Happy tears, relief tears, pride tears. "I did it," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "You did," David confirmed, "and you did it well. Those were 3 great landings. I'm proud of you." They walked back to the office together. Inside, Sarah was waiting. Other instructors, other students. They clapped, whistled. Emma blushed, smiled. This was a moment. This was special. David produced scissors. "Time for the tradition," he said. And before Emma could ask, he cut the back of her t-shirt. A ragged cut, right across the shoulder blades. "Old tradition," he explained, from when instructors would sit behind students. They'd cut the shirt after the solo to mark the occasion. Now we just keep the tradition. Emma laughed, didn't care about the shirt. She'd wear it proudly. Her solo shirt. Evidence. Proof. That evening, driving home, Emma felt different. Changed. She'd gone to the airport as a student. Come home as something more. Not a full pilot yet, but closer. So much closer. The solo was... David was right, transformative. She'd flown alone, and the sky had held her. That night, Emma slept deeply, peacefully, and in her dreams she flew, over and over, free, weightless, home. After the solo, everything changed, and also nothing changed. Emma was still a student, still learning, still making mistakes, but now she could practice alone. She could rent the aircraft, fly solo, build hours, build confidence, build experience. She flew twice a week, sometimes 3 times when money allowed, sometimes just once when money was tight, but she flew, consistently, persistently. The hours accumulated, 30 hours, 40, 50, each flight a lesson, each landing practice, each hour bringing her closer. She practiced landings, over and over, circuit after circuit, until her logbook was filled with landing counts. 10 landings, 15, 20 in a single session, touch and goes, full stops, normal landings, short field landings, soft field landings, each slightly different, each teaching her something new. Short field landings, where you pretended the runway was shorter, where you came in steeper, slower, over an obstacle, clearing an imaginary 50-foot barrier, then down quickly, firmly, maximum braking, stopping in minimum distance. Emma learned to plant it, to not float, to be assertive with the landing. Soft field landings, the opposite, where you pretended the runway was soft, grass, or snow, or mud, where you touched down gently, as softly as possible, holding the nose wheel off as long as you could, protecting it from the soft surface. Emma learned to grease it on, to make the aircraft settle like a whisper. And normal landings, which were actually the hardest, The balance between soft and firm. The landing that was just right. Not too hard, not too soft. On center line, on speed, on aim point. Consistent, repeatable, professional. David flew with her sometimes, checking progress, teaching new maneuvers. But more and more, Emma flew alone, and she loved it. The solitude, the responsibility, the conversation with herself, with the aircraft, with the sky. She learned navigation, real navigation, not just flying the pattern, but going places, cross-country flights. David taught her the skills, the planning, the preparation, the art of getting from here to there by air. First, she learned pilotage, the oldest form of navigation. Follow the roads, the rivers, the railroads. Look out the window. Match what you see to what's on the chart. A water tower here, a town there, a highway intersection, a distinctive bend in a river. Navigation by landmarks, by observation, by seeing. Then dead reckoning, the mathematics of flight. Draw a line on the chart from departure to destination. Measure the distance. Calculate the heading. Account for wind. Figure out ground speed. Estimate time. And then fly that heading for that time. And you should arrive at your destination. In theory, if your math was right. If the wind was what you predicted. If you held heading and altitude precisely. Emma learned to love the planning. The night before a cross-country flight, she would spread her chart on the kitchen table, draw her course line in pencil, mark checkpoints, calculate everything. Wind correction, ground speed, fuel burn, time en route. She'd fill out a navigation log, a table of numbers and times and headings. Her flight planned to the minute. And then she'd fly it, and reality rarely matched the plan exactly. The wind was different. The ground speed varied. The checkpoints appeared early or late, and Emma learned to adapt, to correct, to navigate in real time, using what she'd planned as a starting point, using what she saw to adjust. Her first solo cross-country was to an airport 40 miles away, a small field, grass runway. She'd never been there, never seen it except on the chart, just a dot, just a symbol, but she'd fly there, land, shut down, get the logbook signed, proving she'd been there, and then fly home. The morning of, Emma was nervous, excited. This was big. 40 miles didn't sound like much, but in a small aircraft, at 110 knots, it was 20 minutes of solo flight over unfamiliar territory, 20 minutes of navigation, of decision-making, of being a pilot. She pre-flighted carefully, triple-checked everything. Fuel, oil, control surfaces, tires, everything. Perfect. She climbed aboard, ran the checklist, started up, and taxied out. Her hand rested on the navigation log, velcroed to her knee. Her chart folded to show the route. Everything ready. She departed, climbed, turned on course. Her heading 045 degrees, northeast. She noted the time, started her timer, and flew. Below, the world unfolded. The town fell behind. Fields spread out. A river appeared, winding silver through green. just like her chart showed. She looked for her first checkpoint, a water tower. There, slightly left. On time. Good. She was on course. At 5 miles, she called the destination airport. No tower here. Just a common traffic advisory frequency, where pilots announce their positions to each other. Self-controlled airspace. Emma keyed the mic, her voice steady now. Confident. Camera in traffic. Cessna 734 Quebec, 10 miles south, inbound landing. Cameron. No one answered. The airport was quiet. She continued. 8 miles. 6 miles. 4 miles. And then she saw it. The grass runway. A green strip cut through trees. Small. Remote. Beautiful. She entered the pattern. Downwind. Base. Final. Her first landing at an unfamiliar airport. The sight picture was different. The runway looked narrow. Short, but her training held. She flew her speeds. 65 knots on final. Over the threshold. Flare. And touchdown. On grass. Softer than pavement. Quieter. The aircraft rolled. Slowed. Stopped. Emma sat there for a moment, engine idling, and she felt accomplished. Proud. She'd navigated here. Alone. Found this airport. Landed safely. She'd done it. She taxied to the small parking area. Shut down. Climbed out. The air smelled like grass. Like earth. Like summer. An older man came out of a small building. The airport manager. He smiled. "First time here?" he asked. "Yes," Emma said. "Solo cross country." "Ah," he said, understanding. "Congratulations. Wanted to sign your logbook." Emma nodded, handed it over. He signed, dated, wrote a note. "Welcome to Cameron. Well done." Handed it back. They talked for a few minutes. About flying. About the airport. About the journey. And then Emma climbed back in. Started up. Taxied to the runway. And took off again. Heading home. The flight back was peaceful. Emma knew the way now. The landmarks were familiar from the opposite direction. The river, the towns, the roads. She navigated easily, confidently, and when she saw her home airport ahead, she felt at home. This was her airport now, her field, her runway. She was coming home. She landed, taxied in, shut down, and sat in the quiet cockpit for a long moment, savoring. This was what it meant to be a pilot, to go places, to navigate, to explore the world from above, to have freedom, real freedom. The hours continued to build. 60, 70. Emma flew at different times of day. Morning flights when the air was smooth and cool. Afternoon flights when thermals made the ride bumpy, but taught her about convection and weather. Evening flights when the sun painted the sky gold, and the air grew calm again, and the world glowed. She learned to truly see weather, not just read reports, but see, feel, understand. She learned what clouds meant. Cumulus building, rising air thermal activity, stratus layers, stable air, possible IFR conditions, cirrus, high ice crystals, changing weather approaching. Each cloud type a message, a story. She learned wind, how to feel it, read it, trees bending, flags streaming, smoke drifting, water rippled on lakes. Each visual clue telling her wind direction, wind speed, and she compared what she saw to what the ATIS said. The automated terminal information service, the recording that gave current conditions, and she learned they usually matched. Usually, but not always. And through all of this, Emma grew as a pilot, as a person. Flying taught her so many things. Patience, when weather was bad and she had to wait. Judgment, deciding when to fly and when to stay on the ground. Humility, when she made mistakes and had to learn from them. Confidence, when things went well and she realized she really could do this. She learned that being a pilot wasn't about being perfect. It was about being safe, about making good decisions, about continuous learning, about respecting the aircraft, respecting the weather, respecting the sky. And slowly, steadily, she became what she dreamed of becoming: a pilot. At 70 hours, Emma and David sat down for a talk, in quiet office, coffee in hand, the afternoon sun slanting through the window, dust motes drifting in the light. "You're ready," David said, simply, directly. "Time to schedule your check ride." Emma felt her stomach flip. The check ride, the final test, the thing she'd been working toward for 9 months now. 9 months of lessons, of studying, of practicing, of dreaming, and now it was time. "Really?" she asked, though she knew the answer. She'd logged all the requirements. 40 hours minimum. She had 70. 3 hours of checkride prep done. 3 hours of night flying done. Solo cross-countries done. Long cross-country of 150 nautical miles with stops at 3 airports done. A logbook told the story. She was ready. Technically ready. But was she really ready? "You're ready," David repeated, reading her doubt. "I wouldn't send you if you weren't. You're a safe pilot, Emma. A good pilot. You know the material. You can fly the aircraft. You make good decisions. That's what the examiner is looking for. Not perfection. Competence. Safety. Sound judgment. And you have all of that." Emma nodded slowly. Wanted to believe him. Mostly did believe him. But still, the nervousness was there. The what-ifs. What if she forgot something? What if she made a mistake? What if she failed? "What if I fail?" she asked quietly. David smiled gently. "Then you'll take it again. That's all. It's not the end of the world. Some of the best pilots I know didn't pass on their first try. But Emma, I don't think you're going to fail. I really don't. You've worked hard. You're prepared. Trust yourself. Trust your training." Emma breathed, nodded. "Okay," she said. "Let's schedule it." They chose a date. 3 weeks away. Enough time to review, to practice, to prepare. But not so much time that Emma would overthink it, would psyche herself out. 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks. And then she'd either be a private pilot, or she'd be trying again. Those 3 weeks were intense. Emma threw herself into preparation. She flew almost every day. practicing maneuvers, steep turns, 45-degree banks, maintaining altitude within 100 feet, rolling out on a specific heading. She practiced until she could do it in her sleep, until the aircraft rolled into the turn, held the bank, rolled out perfectly, smoothly, confidently. She practiced ground reference maneuvers, S-turns across a road, flying an S-shaped pattern over a straight line on the ground, adjusting her bank to compensate for wind, keeping the arcs symmetrical, turning with the wind, shallow bank, turning into the wind, steeper bank. It was a dance, a conversation with the wind, and Emma learned to feel it, to adjust without thinking. She practiced emergency procedures, simulated engine failures. David would pull the throttle to idle without warning. "Engine failure," he'd announce, and Emma would react. Establish best glide speed, 65 knots for the 172. Pick a field, somewhere below where she could land safely. Farmland, a road if necessary. Turn toward it, run the checklist, try to restart. If that failed, prepare for the landing, set up an approach, brief herself, and if this were real, she'd land. But in training, David would say my airplane at the last moment, add power, and they'd climb away. The key, David said, is not to panic. Engine failures are rare, very rare, but if it happens, you have time. The aircraft glides. You have options. Just fly the airplane first. Always. Then troubleshoot. Then land. In that order. Emma practiced until the engine failure procedure was automatic, immediate, as natural as breathing. Airspeed, best glide, pick a field, turn, troubleshoot, brief. She could do it. She knew she could. At night, Emma studied ground knowledge, regulations, weather, airspace, aircraft systems, performance calculations, weight and balance, everything the examiner might ask. She made flashcards, quizzed herself, studied until the words blurred, until she dreamed in acronyms and regulations. She learned the practical test standards, the PTS, the book that defined what the examiner would test, what tolerances were allowed, altitude within 100 feet, heading within 10 degrees, airspeed within 10 knots. These were the standards, the margins. Emma practiced to these tolerances, and usually she exceeded them, flew tighter, more precisely, building a buffer, building confidence. She scheduled a mock check ride with another instructor, Sarah, who would pretend to be the examiner, would ask the hard questions, would test her knowledge, would fly with her and grade her, a dress rehearsal, a practice run. The mock check ride was hard. Sarah was thorough, demanding. She asked questions Emma struggled with, explained classy airspace. What are the VFR weather minimums in Class G airspace below 1,200 feet? If you're flying at 8,500 feet westbound, what altitude should you be at? Emma answered, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, working through it. Sometimes she didn't know, and Sarah would explain, teach, fill the gaps. That was the point. Find the weaknesses now, before the real check ride, when it mattered. The flying portion went better. Emma flew well. Her maneuvers were solid. Her landings good. But Sarah found things. Small things. You're a bit slow on your clearing turns. Your traffic pattern was a little wide there. Remember to announce your position on Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. At the end, Sarah smiled. You'll pass, she said. You're ready. Just relax. Be yourself. Don't overthink it. The examiner is human. They're not trying to fail you. They want you to pass. They just need to see that you're safe, that you know what you're doing, and you do. Emma felt better. Not completely confident, but better. She could do this. She could. The night before the check ride, Emma didn't study. David had told her not to. Cramming doesn't help, he'd said. At this point, you either know it or you don't. And you know it. So rest. Relax. Get a good night's sleep. That's more valuable than any last-minute studying. So Emma tried. She made a simple dinner. Pasta. Took a long shower. Went to bed early. But sleep was elusive. She lay in the dark, running through procedures in her mind, imagining scenarios, practicing answers to questions. Finally, around midnight, she drifted off and dreamed of flying, of check rides, of examiners, anxious dreams, restless dreams. But when her alarm went off at 6, Emma felt calm, ready. This was it. Check ride day. The day she'd been working toward. The day she'd prove to herself, to the FAA, that she was a pilot. She dressed carefully. Comfortable clothes. Layers. Brought her logbook. Her cross-country planning. Her chart. Her E6B flight computer. Everything she might need. She ate breakfast. Toast. Coffee. Though she barely tasted it. And then she drove to the airport. The morning was beautiful. Clear. Light winds. Perfect conditions. The universe cooperating again. Emma parked. Sat in her car for a moment. Breathe. You can do this, she told herself. You've done everything already. This is just showing someone. Proving it. You can do this. She got out, walked to the flight school, and went inside. The examiner was waiting. A woman, maybe 55. Gray hair pulled back. Glasses. Kind eyes. Professional demeanor. She stood when Emma entered. Extended her hand. Emma, she asked. I'm Patricia. Patricia Chun. Your examiner today. They shook hands. Patricia's grip was firm. Warm. Nervous? She asked, a small smile. Yes, Emma admitted. No point lying. Good, Patricia said. That means you care. That means you're taking this seriously. That's what I like to see. But remember, I'm not here to trick you. I'm here to see if you're safe. If you know your stuff. If you can make good decisions. That's all. Okay. Emma nodded. Felt slightly better. Patricia seemed kind. Reasonable. Not intimidating. Human. They sat at a table in a small conference room. Patricia spread out paperwork. Applications. Forms. She checked Emma's documents. Pilot certificate application. Medical certificate. Student pilot certificate. Logbook. Everything in order. Everything correct. Okay, Patricia said. Let's start with the oral portion. I'm going to ask you questions about regulations, weather, aircraft. If you don't know something, that's okay. Just tell me. Don't guess. And we'll talk through it. Sound good? Yes, Emma said, her mouth dry, her heart beating faster. Patricia started gently. Basic questions. Tell me about the different classes of airspace. Emma answered, explained each class, the requirements, the weather minimums. Patricia nodded, asked follow-ups, clarifications. Emma answered, slowly, carefully, thinking before speaking. What are the required documents you need to fly? Patricia asked. Emma remembered the acronym. AERO, Airworthiness Certificate, Registration, Radio Station License, though that's only for international flights, Operating Handbook, Weight and Balance. Good, Patricia said. And what personal documents? Pilot certificate, medical certificate, photo ID. Perfect. The questions continued. Weather theory. What causes clouds to form? Emma explained. Lifting air, cooling, condensation, dew point. Patricia nodded. Asked about different types of fog. Radiation fog, advection fog, upslope fog. Emma answered. Not perfectly, but well enough. Patricia filled in the gaps. Explained. Taught. It felt less like a test and more like a conversation, a discussion. They talked about aircraft systems, engine, fuel, electrical, vacuum. Patricia asked how things worked. What would happen if something failed? Emma answered, drew diagrams on a whiteboard, showed her understanding. Patricia seemed satisfied, pleased even. Then the scenario questions. You're flying cross-country, Patricia said, and you notice the oil pressure is dropping. What do you do? Emma thought. First, I'd verify it, check the gauge, make sure it's not a faulty reading. Then, if it's really dropping, I'd know the engine is in trouble. Low oil pressure means the engine isn't being lubricated properly. It could seize. So, I'd land as soon as possible, find the nearest airport, declare an emergency if needed, get on the ground. Good, Patricia said. What if there's no airport nearby? Then, I'd pick a field, land off airport. Better to land under control in a field than to have the engine fail completely and have no options. Patricia nodded. Exactly. You're thinking like a pilot. Safety first. Always. They talked about weather decision-making. Patricia showed Emma a weather report. Met her. Winds. Visibility. Ceiling. Can you fly in this? She asked. Emma studied it. Wind was strong. Gusting. Visibility was okay. 7 miles. But the ceiling was low. 1,500 feet broken. She thought about VFR minimums. Thought about her own comfort level. Her own skills. Legally, yes, Emma said. I'm below 10,000 feet. So I need 3 miles visibility and clear of clouds. This meets that. But, she paused. I wouldn't. The winds are too strong for my comfort level, gusting to 30 knots, and the ceiling is low. If I need to maneuver, if something happens, I don't have much room. I'd wait or cancel. Patricia smiled, genuinely smiled. That, she said, is exactly what I wanted to hear. You know the regulations, but more importantly, you know your own limits. You know when to say no. That's good judgment. That's what keeps pilots alive. Not just knowing the rules, but knowing when to be conservative, when to stay on the ground. Good. Emma felt a wave of relief. She'd answered right, not because she recited a rule, but because she showed judgment, showed decision-making. That was the real test. The oral exam continued. 2 hours. Patricia was thorough, but fair. She asked hard questions, but she wasn't trying to trap Emma. She was assessing, evaluating, determining if Emma was safe, if Emma knew enough, if Emma could think, could reason, could make good decisions. And gradually, Emma relaxed. She found her rhythm, answered confidently, admitted when she didn't know something, asked clarifying questions, engaged in conversation. And Patricia seemed to approve, seemed to like Emma's approach, her honesty, her thoughtfulness. Finally, Patricia closed her notebook. Okay, she said, I'm satisfied with the oral portion. You did well, really well. You know your material. You think like a pilot. Now let's go fly. Emma breathed. Part 1 done. Passed. Now the flight test. The real test. They walked to the aircraft together. Emma carried her flight bag, her logbook, her cross-country planning that Patricia had reviewed and approved. The plan was to fly to an airport 50 miles away, as if doing a cross-country. Then, en route, Patricia would test maneuvers, emergency procedures, and finally return for landings. Emma did the pre-flight inspection. Patricia watched, silently, observing. Emma moved methodically, carefully, checking everything, touching, looking, ensuring the aircraft was safe, airworthy, ready. Patricia nodded approval at a few points, asked a question about the fuel drains. Emma explained, demonstrated. Patricia seemed satisfied. They climbed aboard. Emma started the engine, ran through checklists. Patricia watched, silent still, letting Emma work, letting Emma show her proficiency. Emma called ground, got taxi clearance, taxied to the run-up area, performed the run-up. Everything checked, everything good. Ready? Patricia asked. Ready, Emma confirmed. They departed. Emma flew the planned route, following her course line, navigating by pilotage, by dead reckoning. Patricia occasionally asked questions. What town is that? Emma looked, identified it. What's our ground speed? Emma calculated, told her. If the engine failed now, where would you land? Emma scanned, pointed. That field. There. It's long enough. Into the wind. Clear of obstacles. Patricia nodded. Approved. After 20 minutes, Patricia said, Let's do some maneuvers. Show me steep turns to the left. Emma acknowledged, cleared the area, looking left, right, above, below, ensuring no other traffic. Then she rolled into the turn, 45-degree bank, back pressure to maintain altitude, power as needed, around, rolling out on the entry heading. Altitude within 50 feet. Perfect. To the right, Patricia said. Emma repeated. Right steep turn. Just as good. Patricia made a note. Said nothing, but Emma could tell it was good. Slow flight, Patricia said. Emma slowed the aircraft, added flaps, reduced power, let the speed bleed off. 50 knots. 48, just above stall speed. The controls mushy, heavy, but Emma held it. Maintained altitude, maintained heading, made turns. Right, left, climbed, descended, all at slow speed, demonstrating control, demonstrating mastery of the edge. Good, Patricia said. Recover. Emma smoothly added power, retracted flaps and stages, accelerated, climbed back to cruise altitude. Clean, efficient. Patricia nodded. Power off stall, Patricia said. Emma's heart rate ticked up slightly. She'd practiced this hundreds of times, but still, stalls were intense. She set up, reduced power, slowed, flaps, pulled back. More. The stall horn blaring, the buffet, the shutter, and then the brake. The nose dropped. Emma recovered immediately, reduced back pressure, added full power, leveled the wings, minimized altitude loss, climbed away, retracted flaps. The whole sequence smooth, practiced, automatic. Power on stall, Patricia said. Emma repeated. Different configuration. Departure stall. Climbing attitude. Full power. Back pressure. The stall broke. She recovered. Just as smoothly. Just as precisely. Patricia made more notes. Good, she said, her tone pleased, approving. Let's do an emergency descent. Then, give me a simulated engine failure. Emma performed each maneuver. Emergency descent, steep spiral down, losing altitude quickly, as if something was wrong and she needed to get down fast. Then recovery, level flight. Then, Patricia pulled the throttle. Engine failure. Emma's training took over. Immediate, automatic, airspeed, 65 knots. Best glide, trim, pick a field there. That one, turn toward it. Run the checklist. Fuel select to check. Mixture check. Carb heat on. Magnetos check. Primer locked. Nothing working? Okay. Forced landing. Brief herself. Pattern altitude. Aiming point. Go through the landing checklist. Everything off except what's needed. Doors unlatched for egress. Ready for impact. They descended. 1,000 feet above the field. 500 feet. Patricia watched. Silent. Intent. At 300 feet, she said. That's enough. My airplane. Add power. Emma released the controls. Patricia took over. Added power. They climbed away from the field. You would have made it, Patricia said. Good choice of field. Good approach. Good decision-making. Well done. They flew back to the airport. Patricia asked for ground reference maneuvers. S-turns. Turns around a point. Emma performed them, adjusting for wind, keeping her patterns symmetrical. maintaining altitude. Patricia seemed satisfied. And then they were home, entering the pattern. "Give me a short field landing first," Patricia said. "Runway 27. Emma acknowledged, entered downwind, called her position, turned base, turned final, short field approach, over the obstacle, steep, full flaps, 61 knots, over the threshold, chop power, touchdown, firmly, on the mark, maximum braking, stopped well within the distance." "Good," Patricia said. "Back taxi. We'll do a soft field takeoff and a normal landing." Emma complied. Soft field takeoff, keeping weight off the nose wheel, lifting off in ground effect, accelerating in ground effect, then climbing, around the pattern again. Normal approach this time. Normal landing. Smooth. Center line. Good. "One more," Patricia said. "Short field takeoff. Normal landing. And we're done." Emma's hands were shaking slightly. Almost done. Almost. One more. She could do this. Short field takeoff. Maximum performance. Full flaps. Full power. Rotate at 51 knots. Climb at 54. Best angle of climb. Over the imaginary obstacle. Then retract flaps. Accelerate. Climb normally. Pattern. Downwind. Base. Final. Normal landing. Flare. Touchdown. Good. Not her best, but good. Safe. Within standards. They taxied back. Emma shut down and sat there, suddenly exhausted, drained. It was over. The check ride was over. Now she just had to wait for Patricia's verdict. They went inside, sat at the same table. Patricia reviewed her notes. Emma waited, silent, heart pounding, trying to read Patricia's face. But Patricia was unreadable, professional. Finally, Patricia looked up, and she smiled, a real smile, warm, genuine. "Congratulations, Emma," she said. "You passed." Emma felt everything. Relief, joy, disbelief, pride. Tears pricked her eyes. She'd done it. Actually done it. She was a pilot. A real pilot. Private pilot certificate. She'd passed. "Really?" Emma asked, her voice small, shaking. "Really," Patricia confirmed. "You flew well. You know your material. You made good decisions. You're a safe pilot. That's what we're looking for. And you showed me all of that today. I'm proud to issue you your certificate." Patricia handed her a piece of paper. Temporary certificate. Valid until the permanent one arrived in the mail. But it was real. Official. Emma was a pilot. "Thank you," Emma said. Tears now. Happy tears. Overwhelming tears. "Thank you so much." Patricia stood, shook Emma's hand. "No," she said. "Thank you for taking this seriously, for working hard, for caring about safety. We need more pilots like you. Welcome to aviation, pilot. The sky is yours now." David was waiting outside. He'd been watching the pattern, watching Emma's landings. When Emma came out, certificate in hand, tears on her face, he knew. He smiled, pulled her into a hug. "You did it," he said. "I knew you would." "I did it," Emma repeated, still not quite believing. "I'm a pilot." "You're a pilot," David confirmed. "A damn good one." That evening, Emma called her parents, her friends. She told everyone. She posted a photo of her certificate online. The congratulations poured in. Messages, comments, likes. But more than any of that, Emma just sat in her apartment, in the quiet, holding her certificate, looking at it, her name, her photo, the words "private pilot." She'd done it. The dream she'd had 9 months ago, standing on a sidewalk, watching a plane fly overhead. It had come true. She'd learned to fly, really fly. And now the sky was hers, waiting, inviting, open. Tomorrow she'd fly, as a pilot, not a student, a pilot. She'd rent the aircraft, file a flight plan, go somewhere, anywhere, just fly. But tonight she'd rest. She'd savor. She'd let it sink in. She was a pilot. And the dream was real. The next morning, Emma woke early, before dawn, not from anxiety this time, but from excitement. Pure, quiet excitement. Today she would fly, as a pilot, her first flight with her certificate, her first flight free. She made coffee, watched the sky lighten through her window. Pink, then gold, then blue. Perfect flying weather. The universe still cooperating, still celebrating with her. She dressed, comfortable jeans, a sweatshirt, her flight bag already packed, logbook, headset, charts, sunglasses, everything she needed. She looked at her temporary certificate, still couldn't quite believe it was real, but there it was, her name, private pilot. She tucked it carefully into her wallet, carried it with her. Proof, evidence, reality. At the airport, the morning was quiet. A few other pilots arriving, starting their days. Emma parked, got out, and stood for a moment, breathing the familiar air. Aviation fuel, morning dew, possibility. But today it felt different. She wasn't a student anymore. She was one of them, a pilot. She belonged here now, fully, completely. She went into the flight school, scheduled the aircraft, November 7th for Quebec, her training aircraft, the one she'd soloed in, the one she'd taken her Checkride in. It felt right to fly her first flight as a pilot in this aircraft, this familiar, patient, forgiving machine. "Congratulations again," the desk attendant said, handing her the keys. "Where are you going today?" Emma smiled. "I don't know yet," she said. "Somewhere, anywhere, just up." She walked to the aircraft, the morning sun warm on her face, the ramp quiet, peaceful. She did her pre-flight, the ritual, the meditation, touching, checking, ensuring, everything good, everything ready. But today it felt different, more personal, more intimate. This wasn't just an aircraft. This was hers, for the day, her wings, her freedom. She climbed aboard, started up, The engine caught, roared, settled. She ran through her checklists, but her hands moved with new confidence, new authority. She wasn't practicing anymore. She was doing, being, flying. She called ground, Riverside ground, Cessna 734 Quebec, with information Bravo, taxi for runway 27, VFR departure to the north. The controller responded, professional, routine. They didn't know this was her first flight as a pilot. To them, she was just another aircraft, just another pilot, and that felt perfect. She was normal now, ordinary, a pilot among pilots. She taxied, ran the run-up, everything checked, everything green. She called tower, Riverside Tower, Cessna 34 Quebec, ready for departure. Cessna 34 Quebec, runway 27, cleared for takeoff. Emma took a breath. This was it, her first takeoff. As a private pilot, she taxied onto the runway, lined up, and without hesitation, without doubt, she pushed the throttle forward. The acceleration, the speed building, the familiar vibration, 55 knots. Rotate, pull back gently, and lift off. The wheels left the ground. The earth fell away, and Emma climbed into the morning sky. Freedom. That's what it felt like. Pure, unbounded freedom. The sky was hers now. Not borrowed. Not supervised. Hers. She could go anywhere. Do anything. Within reason. Within safety. Within her skills. But the possibilities were endless. She climbed at 3,000 feet. Leveled off. Trimmed the aircraft. Hands off. The Cessna flew itself, steady, stable, true. Emma looked out. The world spread below. Towns, roads, rivers, fields. The same view she'd seen dozens of times during training. But today it looked different. Brighter, more vivid, more real. She turned north, following a river. No destination. No plan, just flying, exploring. She passed over a small town, saw people below, tiny figures going about their morning. None of them knew she was up here. None of them knew she'd just earned her wings. But that was okay. This moment was hers. Private, sacred, quiet. She flew for an hour, maybe more. Time didn't matter. She turned west, then south, then east, making a lazy circle, seeing her hometown from different angles, different perspectives. She saw the bookstore where she worked, a tiny building from up here. She saw her apartment complex, the parking lot, her car spec, her whole life laid out below like a map. And she thought about the journey that brought her here. 9 months ago, standing on a sidewalk, seeing a plane, feeling that pull, that longing. And now she was the plane. She was the pilot in the cockpit, living the dream she'd barely dared to dream. Life was strange, wonderful, full of possibility. All you had to do was try. Was take that first step, make that first phone call, show up, keep showing up, and slowly, impossibly, dreams became real. Eventually, Emma turned back toward the airport, not because she had to, but because she was complete. This flight had given her what she needed. Confirmation, validation, peace. She was a pilot. Really, truly, and she always would be now. This was part of her, forever. She entered the pattern. Downwind, base, final. Her landing was good, not perfect, a little firm, but safe, centered, controlled. She rolled out, taxied back, shut down, and sat in the sudden silence, savoring. She'd done it, flown her first flight as a pilot, and it had been everything. Everything she'd hoped, everything she'd dreamed, and more. Emma climbed out, locked the aircraft, walked back to the office. The sun was higher now, the day warming. Other pilots were arriving, flying, living their own adventures. And Emma was one of them now, part of the community, part of the family, a pilot. She returned the keys, logged her flight, 1.2 hours, solo, VFR, local area, first flight as a private pilot. She wrote it carefully, reverently. This entry would always be special, would always remind her of this day, this feeling. David was there. He saw her, smiled. "How was it?" he asked. Emma smiled back. "Perfect," she said. "It was perfect." "Good," David said. "Now the real learning begins. You're a pilot now, but you'll never stop being a student. The sky has endless lessons, endless experiences. You've opened a door, Emma, and beyond it is everything." Emma nodded. She understood. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The private pilot license was just that. A license to learn, to explore, to grow. There would be more certificates, more ratings, instrument, commercial, maybe even CFI someday. Teaching others, giving back, or maybe not. Maybe she'd just fly for herself, for joy, for freedom, for the pure pleasure of it. Either way, the sky was hers now, waiting, always waiting. That evening, Emma sat on her apartment balcony, watching the sunset, the sky painted in oranges and pinks and purples, clouds catching the light, glowing, beautiful. She thought about all the sunsets she'd see from now on, from above, from the cockpit, from her seat in the sky. She thought about the flights to come, the places she'd visit, the friends she'd take up, showing them the world from above, sharing the gift, the magic. She thought about cross countries, flying to distant airports, exploring, adventures. She thought about simply flying locally, practicing, staying sharp, staying safe, staying connected to the sky. And she thought about that day, 9 months ago, when a plane flew overhead, and something stirred in her. That pull, that longing. She listened to it, followed it, and it had led her here, to this moment, this life, this dream realized. She was a pilot, and she would be forever. And so, Emma's story comes full circle, from earth to sky and back again, but changed, transformed. She found her wings and learned to fly. Perhaps you have your own dreams, your own longings, your own quiet voices whispering, Perhaps you've been standing on a sidewalk, watching something pass overhead, feeling that pull, that possibility, that whisper that says, you could do that, you could learn, you could become. If so, listen, follow, take that first step, make that first call, show up, keep showing up, because dreams, when nurtured, when pursued, when honored, they become real, they become life. But for now, rest. Let him his journey settle into your mind like gentle snow. Let it become part of your dreams tonight. Perhaps you'll fly. Perhaps you'll drift. Perhaps you'll simply rest. Deeply, peacefully, held by the quiet. The sky is patient. The dreams are patient. And sleep is waiting for you. Soft, warm, welcoming. Breathe in slowly, and out even slower. Feel yourself sinking, deeper, heavier, more relaxed. Your body letting go, your mind quieting, the story fading into background, into dream, into sleep. Emma is flying now, somewhere, in your mind, in your dreams, wings catching light, engine humming, free, and you are here, safe, comfortable, at peace. Let yourself drift. Let yourself rest. Let yourself sleep. The horizon is always there, waiting, whenever you're ready, whenever you choose. But for now, just breathe, just rest, just be. Thank you for joining Emma on her journey. Good night.